I wonder how much Mideast oil we burned transporting the Harry Potter books to the stores.
Muggles around the world lined up to get their hands on the end of a boy wizard's life at Hogwarts. Book 7, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, is officially on sale now. Early shipping of some books led to leaks about the story online. Some newspapers even printed their reviews early. But true fans remained in the dark about the ending until today's bewitching midnight release.
I'm going to start reading it.
How long do you think it'll take to finish it?
I'll be done hopefully by Monday. I can't wait to see what happens and who ends up killing Voldemort, who dies. I've read every single book multiple times, or every book in the series multiple times. And so this really encouraged me to go out and read other books.
Chapter 1, The Dark Lord Ascending. The two men appeared out of nowhere, a few yards apart in the narrow, moonlit lane.
That was author J.K. Rowling. She is now the richest woman in England, even out-earning the Queen. Check out the magical numbers here. 325 million Harry Potter books have been sold in 64 different languages. 12 million copies of The Deathly Hallows have been printed for the U.S. alone. You heard one Potter fan say her love of the Potter books has inspired her to read more. But is that really the case? Coming up later this half hour on Headline News, the latest research on whether Potter fans are really reading more than they used to.
After CNN hyped Harry Potter for no good reason, they finally got around to the war.
President Bush has signed an executive order which spells out new interrogation techniques for terror suspects. It bars cruel and inhumane treatment, humiliation, or denigration of a prisoner's religious beliefs. Now, the order targets mostly captured al-Qaeda terror suspects who may have information on an attack or knowledge where their leaders are hiding. The executive order is the result of legislation that President Bush signed last October, which, among other things, authorizes him to interpret international standards for prisoner treatment. You may have assumed that the success of President Bush's so-called troop surge in Iraq means that U.S. forces will be able to leave sooner. But the statements of U.S. commanders suggest just the opposite. Senior Pentagon correspondent Jamie McIntyre looks at why Marines may have to stay in places like Anbar Province.
The U.S. military says the wild west of Anbar Province, a former al-Qaeda stronghold, is a success story. Last week, there were only 98 violent incidents in Anbar compared to 428 for the same week a year ago. So the surge forces there should be able to leave, right? Not so fast, says their commander.
The key to this is having persistent presence, but I don't see it happening overnight. I believe it's another couple of years in order to get that to that.
A surge force of 2,200 Marines has been extended 30 days in Anbar to help lock in the gains of the past month. And that illustrates a common misconception, that if the surge succeeds, it will allow U.S. troops to leave. While in fact, success may create more pressure for the troops to stay until Iraqi forces can step in. Here's what Major General Rick Lynch, another surge commander, told the AP. It's going to take me into next spring and summer to generate this sustained security presence. So what about the September review? The number 2 commander in Iraq seemed to say he wants more time.
In order to do a good assessment, I need at least till November to do that assessment.
That apparently offhand comment drew a quick rebuke from the Senate Republican leader who doesn't want to see November become the new September.
And I think September is the critical month.
In a statement, General Odierno insisted he was not moving the goalposts, saying, "My reference to November was simply suggesting that as we go forward beyond September, we will gain more understanding of the trends." But one trend is clear. U.S. commanders don't want to see the surge end too soon.
If we pull out and are perceived to be pulling out without having achieved a measure of success, they win.
The consensus of the generals is that the biggest mistake of the past was pulling out U.S. troops too soon. So General David Petraeus is going to have a hard time recommending troop cuts if his commanders are dead set against it. Jamie McIntyre, CNN, The Pentagon.
Of course, wasting oil on crap doesn't just get us into wars. It's also screwing up the climate.
Bone-dry conditions in the West have bumped firefighting efforts into overdrive. In Utah, fire crews have their hands full battling a 24-square-mile wildfire. It all started Thursday in Salt Creek Canyon and burned through a campground and also a motel. So far, they have managed, though, to keep it from reaching a small town, but at least 24 people are being told to be ready to evacuate. While much of Europe sweats through a heat wave, Britain is getting flooded. In some areas, a month's worth of rain fell in one day yesterday. Some of London's underground rail stations had to close because of that flooding. Now, thousands of people have been forced into shelters by the rain. Helicopters rescued dozens of stranded people.